BowmanDigitalMedia.com. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode ever of Get Hired Faster. My name is Ira Bowman. I am your host, and tonight I come to you from, well, it's not sunny California. I usually talk about sunny California, but it's soaking wet California. It's the sunshine state, kind of. Anyways, welcome. Everybody is letting us know where they're from. We got Ian in the house. We got Ikram from, I'm sorry if I butchered that, by the way, from Dubai. We got people from Hawaii, from Kansas, from Texas. My sister, she's a good friend of mine, Mariella, is coming to us from Santa Barbara by way of Greece. Anyways, lots of people. Mike O'Connor. Oh, there he is. Mike O'Connor from Chicagoland. He's a Bears fan. Don't hold that against him. Love that guy. Anyways, so what is this about? It's a little bit different time for me. My wife was like, what do you mean you got a show? You got a show, 7 o'clock. I know. Here's the deal. Soheeb and I are really good friends. Soheeb is my buddy from Dubai, and he helps job seekers on the other side of the world from the UAE in that area to find jobs. And he and I collaborate on some stuff. And I thought, you know what would be fun? And Merry Christmas from Papua New Guinea. Welcome. Early over there. I didn't expect anybody from Africa or Europe on because it's like 4 a.m. in the morning. But most places are awake, either going to bed or just getting up, right? So apologies to you in West Africa and even like South Africa. I think in South Africa it's 5 a.m. and London it's 4 a.m. So apologize, guys, for the time zone here. But originally from Kansas, I did not know that, Mike. There you go. These people are making me want to travel, no doubt. Hello from India. And it's 8:30 in the morning in India. So I thought, it'd be good. India, Australia, it's like 2:30 p.m. right now in Australia. Now it's Tuesday there. For those of you where it's, 8 a.m. or 2:30 p.m. on Tuesday. It's still Monday here. It's 7:04 p.m. according to my computer, which is probably off like me just a little bit. Sorry, I like jokes. But what am I doing here? What I'm doing here is this, guys. I run Project Help You Grow. This is a job service that I've been running since 2018. And in 2018, 2019, I did a deep dive with my friend who's no longer with us, Kirsty Bonner, and did a couple things. She helped me understand how to format resumes. She was a recruiter, right? An expert at this stuff. And she trained me how to build resumes. Well, on top of that, the ATS was just becoming like a major thing. And so I did a deep dive. It took, I think it was 6 weeks that I researched everything I could. Hello from Malaysia, and it's 11 a.m. Thank you, Tuesday. Hope you're having a great day. Samosas for breakfast, not for me. I'm actually drinking water, which I usually drink coffee, but right now I'm drinking water. I've got like that, if I sound a little nasally, I've got like an inner ear thing that just started like an hour ago. Like, I don't know. I thought maybe I was getting nervous, but I go live all the time, so I'm not nervous to go live. I don't know, whatever. But anyways, the point of this whole show is that a lot of people, and where I was going with all that setup, Kirsty Bonner absolutely despised the ATS, absolutely hated it. And I hated it too, because all I heard about the ATS was this evil stuff. And my opinion on the ATS actually changed when I did the deep dive. So 6 weeks, I'm a nerd. I study things. That's what I do. So I did this deep dive and I found out the ATS actually isn't bad. It's just like me. It's misunderstood. Most people don't understand me. They really don't. And that's okay. You don't need to get me. Helped a lot of colleges over the years. Oh, there you go. All right. So what's the problem with the ATS? Most people don't understand it. That's the main problem. But the ATS is a very complex set of software that does a lot more than what people think it does. They think it's just like this screening, like this giant gate to keep you out. And it's not at all. That's not what it's designed for. But it does screen as part of the process. So, yeah, and I don't know who said this, because you've got to open your security settings. Let third parties. Oh, there you go. Gene Rodriguez. Gene, open up your security settings. Let third parties see it. That way, like people when they Google and stuff, they can find you on LinkedIn. Okay. But anyways, yeah, it can be brutal. And that was Kirsty's point. She's like, it's keeping people from getting interviewed. And I'm like, you know what we need to do? We need to educate people on how they can get that interview, right? When you're qualified. Now, first, there's a few things I want to say. I have everything I'm going to be talking about tonight in more depth even than I can cover in an hour. And I'm going to get through a lot of this. I hope you put your study hats on, kids. Today, I am going to give you, if you've never studied this at all, I'm going to give you a lot of information. It's going to be hard to absorb, but you don't have to memorize everything. I'm going to have links for all this stuff that I'm going to be sharing tonight. I'm going to put it in the comments. So if you're watching this late, you can just click on the links as I show them. If you watch this and you're like, Ira, I missed it. Where's that link? Send me a direct message and I'll be happy to share that too. Okay. But here's the deal. If you're applying for jobs that you're not qualified for right now, you got like no shot. Okay. You got to be qualified for these jobs because most employers, 99%, I saw a statistic on one of the resources. We'll find it together as we go through them. One of the resources is 99% of Fortune 500, and I think it's now 5,000 company or 1,000 companies are using an ATS of some type. That's a lot. But what's even more is now in the last 2 years, more of the small and medium-sized businesses are using it too. Okay. So if you have not been formatting your, if you do not meet a cutoff at an organization hiring, exactly, 100%. Okay. So there used to be this thing all the time, like we would call them stretch jobs. You'd apply for something, you didn't qualify, but you'd apply. You hope they would see the potential in you, and they sometimes would, and they would hire you. Stretch job. A lot of times, in fact, you wouldn't get promoted internally. You would get promoted by switching companies and taking that step forward. That's actually the opposite of what happens today. Today, if you want to get promoted, you want to take that step forward in title, usually you need to be promoted. Okay. So, and I get asked this a lot too. So I'm going to cover a little bit, but I'm going to have a whole show dedicated to this. A lot of you watching from around the world. Okay. Here's another topic for another show coming soon. Date and time to be determined. How do I find a job in another country? And I've talked about this ad nauseum. I've written about this ad nauseum. I've got videos and I've got guest people who are guests on my show, Project Podcast, who have talked about it. Specifically, Juliana Robbie, probably the world's foremost expert on this thing. Probably not, but she knows more about it than I do. Okay. So I've picked her brain. I've learned from her. Here's the thing. There are ways to do it. It's not magic. It takes time. If you're interested, I'm going to teach you that. So stay tuned. We won't talk about that in this show. We just don't have time. We are going to cover the resumes. Now, if you already know what your question is, go ahead and fire them off to me because the first questions in will be the first answer. All right. Otherwise, I'm just going to go through my presentation. I'm going to teach you until your wheels fall off. All right, here we go. That was every job I ever got. Exactly. Right. A lot of times people would see the potential in you and they would hire you. But now there's so many qualified candidates, and this is the thing that most people just don't consider, right? The volume of candidates that are available are so high. Nobody needs to take a chance on an unknown. They want proven commodities. This is why when we're talking about building your resumes and building your about section on LinkedIn, what we're asking you to do, those in the know, we're asking you mainly for qualifications and give us like actual data, right? Don't tell me how great you are. Show me you hit your sales quota by 127%, or you helped reduce the cost of that budget by 23% or whatever, right? Quantification, qualification, certifications. We want to see that stuff. Why? Because now that's lending credibility to your send me a copy. I'm not sending you a copy, man. Email me for links later and I'll hit reply. I'm not going through these notes. I promise you that right now. There's no way. But you know how to find me again. All right, here we go. This is true too, but again, people aren't hiring you based on, I think you can do this anymore, right? I know what Mike's talking about, and I've gotten job offers, and so has Mike, because of the size of our networks. So when you get really big, you do get some attention that you probably shouldn't get, but you still going to go through. You're still going to go through an ATS for major companies. Now, if it's a smaller company, right? If you're talking directly to the owner, this doesn't necessarily matter. But most of us don't know the owner. Most of us don't have access to the top. You got to go through a recruiter. You're going to go through a hiring process. This hiring process has got layers. And if your resume is not set or formatted for the ATS, you've got very little chance. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. It's no good in telling someone you handled $1 million budget. Well, it can be. It depends on what the job is. But we'll get into it. All right, here we go. First things first. What is the ATS? Ira, you've said ATS, ATS, ATS. What is ATS? ATS stands for Applicant Tracking Software. Okay, so think like CRM is Contact Record Management. You have ERPs, which are Enterprise Resource Planning. ATS is just another one of those types of categories of software. And what does it do? It doesn't just screen you out. That's a part of the functionality of it, but it isn't the sole purpose of it. The sole purpose of the ATS is to see in a nutshell, keep track in a nutshell of all the job openings and all the applicants and where they are for a corporation or a company. Okay. So you might have, a lot of you are thinking about it in a simplex form. You have one job, you have 200 applicants, right? And you can see the different stages. These people have submitted a resume. Well, first of all, the job listing itself has been created and entered into the ATS. That has to happen before you would see it. Then it goes to wherever it goes, whether it's your website and whatever, they're going to use Indeed or Project Help You Grow or ZipRecruiter or whatever they're going to use, right? So it's gone out to these different places. And then you've got applicants applying. Okay, so they've applied. Now, some of them have been responded to. They've been asked to interview. They've been 1 interview, 2 interviews, 3 interviews. Job offers out. Job offers been accepted. Now drug screening, background check happens. New paper hire work is done. All that stuff is handled inside the ATS. And it isn't for just one job. It's for all the jobs. So the bigger the corporation, the more it is. It is a tracking system 100%, not a screening system. But don't get it twisted. Screening is one of the reasons why people use it. Okay. So what is this screening about? Well, imagine this. Imagine that okay, so let's get this over with too real quick. Dozens is the tip of the iceberg. There are thousands, literally thousands of ATS softwares. Okay. And we're going to talk about which ones there are and all this stuff. And some people in the comments will get ahead of me and, it's okay. Look, there's a lot. But just know this, okay? ATS is not universal, right? ATS is an acronym for software, and everybody's software can work a little different. In fact, people could even have the same ATS, not same software. Let me say it this way. They could be using software from the same company, but a different version. And that different version can work differently. And one of the biggest differences that this has an effect with is they're using a cloud-based or something that they've got stored locally, right? And they're just using a fixed version. And a lot of people are because it's expensive. ATS software is not cheap, okay? So if they have Talao, for example, which I think Mariella just referenced, and it is the largest, it's made by Oracle. It's the most commonly used ATS program in the world, well, at least specifically for the United States and for Europe. I can't say that actually for global, but I think it is. I believe it is, but I don't know 100% for sure. So don't hold my feet to the fire with that. But it is the number one used in the United States and Europe. I know that for sure. Okay, but here's the deal. There's different versions of it. And the biggest tripping point that I've ever had people want to like argue with me about is what file format you should submit your resume with to an ATS. And I will tell you this, and this is the most controversial thing I'll probably say to anybody who has done a lot of homework and studied this stuff too, right? Not many people have studied as much as me on this, but the ones that have, some of them like to argue with me about this one. And they're right in a sense, and I'll explain it in the difference in just a second. But file format. I say if you don't know what they're using, you're best to use a Word document. DOCX. Now, for security purposes, a Word doc sucks because people could strip it off and make changes. Yes, that's actually the whole damn point. Pardon my expression there. But that is the point, because I'm going to explain how the ATS works, and then you're going to understand why that's important. PDF is safer. But let me tell you this, for any of you who think you're so smart, I could take any PDF I want and do whatever I want to it because I'm a graphic designer. It's not safe either, right? It's just like my dad was talking about somebody else. I made a new watermark yesterday for my photography business, and somebody said, you should do this with it because it's too easy to steal. I'm like, I can erase anybody's watermark on anything I want at any time I want. And my dad actually said that, which was funny. But it's true, right? So if a crook is a crook will be a crook no matter what. But you need this, you need the file to be accessible to the ATS program, because what it's going to do, you've taken all this time to quote unquote format your resume. And for the most part, a human being isn't going to see it, at least not at first. They might see it eventually. But at first, the robot, the artificial intelligence component, needs to be able to take your resume, strip it down into its basic components, to its elements, and then reassemble it in a universal format. And every single application that is processed by most ATS systems, on the end of the recruiter or the hiring manager, whoever it is, the human resources person, whoever's going to see it, they are going to see a stack of the same information in the same format. So name, title, birthday, location, whatever it is, whatever order, objective statement, education, work experience, it's all going to be universally formatted. That's what ATSs, in one sense, were designed to do. It was designed to help remove bias. That's another objective of the ATS. A lot of people don't talk about that, but it is true. Okay, so let's get to this because I hear this a lot. I'm always going to tell you to read the job description. And a lot of you don't, but you need to. You need to slow down everything. Read that job description like 15 times before you submit your application, because there's a lot you guys are missing. You're in a hurry to get rejected. Stop it. Slow down. This isn't a race. Okay? Here's the thing. If the job description says send me a PDF, then send a PDF. If it says send a text document, send a text document. Here's the thing. The newer ATS systems, most of the cloud-based ones, understand and accept PDF files. They totally get it. But there are still legacy ATS programs out there in wide use, and I won't even guesstimate at a percentage. But there's still far more of those out there than anybody would really like to admit. They don't understand PDFs. And if you send a PDF to one of those legacy systems and they import your PDF, what it will see is a blank document. It reads it like a picture. So there's no words. You're not qualified, and that's why you got rejected. If you've ever read a job description, you thought, man, I'm perfect for this job. And you hit the, quick reply, quick apply, right? And you sent your PDF and you got a rejection sentence, like 3 email response, like 3 seconds later. That's what happened to you, almost assuredly. So again, if they ask for the PDF, by all means, send that. Don't be obtuse. Follow instructions. And as we get forward further and further into 2022 and who knows how far, as legacy programs get updated more and more, this actually will be a non-issue PDF or Word doc. But again, you don't know if you don't know. Be safe. Look, you're trying to give yourself what? The best shot to win. You're not trying to skirt by here. You're in a competition with who knows how many other hundreds or thousands of people for one job. You got to give yourself the best shot to win. Everything I'm going to be talking about tonight and teaching you is based on that principle. It isn't what's the way to say this? What's the best way for me to say this so you guys understand? I'm giving you the maximum chance to win. I'm not giving you magic formula. I'm giving you the things, best practices that will work the best. Every case is different. There is no universal hiring standard or guideline, especially globally. Things work differently in India than they do in Dubai. They certainly work different in Canada than they do here in the United States. And they work different here in different parts of the country even. Every company has their own hiring practices. So the answer can change every single time. But don't shoot yourself in the foot, right? Read that job description. If they ask you for a PDF, send them a PDF, right? Got to do it. It's sad, but true. Yeah, it's true. And again, I understand. Believe me, I've been doing this a long time and I have thick skin. You guys might not understand that, right? I've been doing this a long time. I understand that the PDF thing, because for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, as long as you've been using a computer, everybody's been telling you to send PDF files. It's the safest thing. Safer. How many of those applicants are reaching out to the hiring manager and sending a cover letter and resume in addition to submitting job application and resume? Okay. So we'll get into all of these questions. There's some good questions. I don't know if you are just trying to get ahead of me or I'm not sure what you're doing, but that's okay. I'll answer your questions later. Follow the instructions and send the document format asked for it 100%. Employees language, making the keywords important. Okay. So if you guys want to, I'm just going to teach. I can't understand what you guys are talking about. All right, here we go. The very first thing that you need to know, there are rules to formatting. Why? What's the point of the formatting? The point of the formatting is you want the ATS programs to understand the information that you're sending. So the wrapper is the program type itself, right? So PDF, Word docs. Again, I'm telling you, I know not every one of them will read a PDF, but here's the thing, my counterpoint to all of you. Every single one of them. There is not one single ATS resume, ATS product on the market, not one, that's ever not been able to read a Word doc. So if you send a Word doc, 100% of them will be able to read it. If you send a PDF, there's a lot of them that won't. Is that 40%? Is it 60%? Are you willing to take that chance? If I'm a job seeker, I'm not. Look, if I know if I send you a Word doc, 100% of you can read it. In a PDF, only 40% or 60% can read it. Again, if they ask you for the specific file type, then send that. But when you don't know, be safe. All right. So with that, the rest of what I'm teaching you tonight, it's really about the same thing. Okay. So it's about setting yourself up to give yourself the best chance to succeed. Okay. So with that, I'm going to go. I've got, these are the tools that I'm going to be sharing tonight. I'm going to be sharing Tag Crowd. This was actually Kirsty Bonner's favorite thing. She loved this thing. And she talked about jobscan.co a lot. There's an article from the Muse I'm going to be reviewing. There is a pretty good article on Resume Atelier. I don't know if I said that right. I actually just found that on Google today, but I liked it, so I'm going to share it. I've got Keyword Ninjas, because keywords, one of those things, once we get the formatting down, keywords are what a lot of you aren't doing for each job application. You're just sending a one size fits all, and that's why you're not getting the interview. Okay. And then I wrote one not too long ago. I think this was a couple weeks ago that I posted this. Why should you revise your resume before each job application is submitted? I'm going to make my case, and hopefully you guys will pick up on that. But this is the big one. When I did my deep dive into the ATS, I wrote this long article and I posted it, as you can see, back on August 4th, 2019. Now, some of the stuff has been updated. Again, this is the good and the bad part of the ATS. When I wrote this article, some of the stuff that was out there today, like PDF, wasn't nearly as common as it is today. Like, in fact, I think all of them released today pretty much, except PDF, the new ones. But the problem is companies aren't upgrading. So there you go. So anyways, we'll go over this, but I'm going to put this right now. I'm going to put this one, how to earn an interview, because it's so important. By the way, if you're on Facebook, I apologize. For whatever reason, Facebook doesn't allow Project Help You Grow links, so it's going to reject it, and that just is what it is. But let's go through this, because this has a lot of information. And if you have questions now, I'm going to start watching them. If you're off topic, then I just want to address it. Cover letters. I actually do recommend, somebody's been asking about cover letters. I do recommend that you use cover letters. I don't know if I'll get into it on the show or not. Just depends on how, because we're already 27 minutes in and I haven't even barely started. So this is going to go over an hour, just in case you guys are curious. It just, there's no way I'm going to finish. And I was going to go an hour, but it's going to go longer. Okay. So if you want this information, Lisa Jones is in the house. Lisa, if you are ready, where are you at? Where's she at? I don't know. I see her in the comments, but oh, this is you. Lisa, we got to update your security settings. Okay, but Lisa Jones is a professional resume writer. If you are looking for someone to write your resume for you, or CV, because she's good at both. She is the president of Global Goodwill Ambassadors. And anyways, she's a professional resume writer. So you could have her do it for you, and then you don't have to worry about this. But tweaking is essential. She's screaming it at you now. You've got to do it on every single job. We're going to talk about that 100% before the show is over. Okay. Let's talk about formatting. Okay. So again, as you can see it clearly, I wouldn't recommend, I'm just going to switch to this. I wouldn't recommend that you use text anymore. .txt back in 2019, there was still some legacy programs back then where that was the only format really that they recommended, but it's so ugly. I wouldn't do it. Send a docs file, which is from Microsoft Word. Okay. Unless, of course, again, the caveat, they ask for a PDF. You can ask them before you submit it. Say, hey, does your ATS recognize PDFs? It's an intelligent question, honestly. All right. So I just feel like I'm being antisocial by not having my screen on. Here we go. All right. Artistic style. This is a big one. A lot of you want to make your resume, quote unquote, pretty or fancy. And I'm a graphic designer. Let me just do this. Nope. Let me do this. All right. I make graphics for a living. I'm a designer. I totally understand that you want the resume to look good. And to a certain extent, it should, but it needs to be clean, not pretty. Easy to read, clean, not pretty. You're not adding fancy watermarks and crap underneath, or, the brackets and all that stuff. Why? Because you don't want to confuse the ATS. This is not, you haven't gotten the interview yet. You haven't even had a human being see the resume yet. You've got to get through the robot. So don't confuse the robot. Okay. So artistic style can hurt you. So read this article, guys. Okay. Don't use columns. Have one column. That's it. One column. Font size. Not too small, not too big, but too small is actually worse than too big. Why? There was this thing back when I started doing it. I had never heard of it. It was called keyword stuffing. I'm like, what is keyword stuffing? You know what it was? It was people trying to cheat. That's what it was. You can call it whatever you want. Keyword stuffing was cheating. So people would use really small fonts, or they would use the color white. And we'll get into color in just a second, I think. Yeah, we'll get into color in just a second. But don't go too small, because if you do, some of them have been basically set to say you're a cheater and kick you out. Font size 10. I actually recommend you stay at 11 or higher just to be safe. But you can read the article, okay? Font size, or I'm sorry, font type. Do I get into color? Let me just talk about this. I don't know if I have it here. Let me just say, on your fonts, make sure that it's 10 or higher. Like I said, I recommend 11 or higher, just to be safe. But also make sure that you don't use anything but black. Don't use blue. Don't use white. Again, this is about getting through the robot, the AI, without hurting your chances. And that's the way you need to look at it. You're doing everything you can do to increase your chance of earning the interview. This isn't about your rights. This is about you putting your best foot forward, making it as easy as possible for these robots to understand what it is that you've given them, so they can put it in the right order, in the right place, and you get credit for everything, and you don't look like you're trying to cheat anything, and you get the interview. That is, sans serif. And here's the thing. A lot of people don't know what the term sans serif means, but let me just explain it to you really, really simply. Serif fonts are old school fonts with the little wiggly stuff and squiggly stuff at the top and the bottom, right? So like New Times Roman, some of these. Okay, they're old school. They've got the little fancy stuff. Use the newer stuff. It's clean, no tittles. They call those sans serifs. Without is what sans means, right? So without the fancy stuff. Okay, so think Arial or anything like it, and that's what you want, a sans serif font. I actually call some out for you in this article because I know a lot of people don't understand that. So here we go. Arial, Georgia, Tahoma, Trebuchet, Veranda, all of those are good. And all of the major players at the time that I wrote this, I actually went on all their websites and I verified these fonts. Every one of these fonts was listed, including New Times Roman, was listed as a safe font on Toleao and all the other ones, and I'll get to what they are here in a minute. But all of them were included, these 6 fonts were all included as safe. So that's why I call these ones out specifically. There are others that you can use, and a sans serif is nice and clean. So that's a good recommendation by, that was Lisa Jones who said that. Okay. Here's another term that you'll hear, and it's really relevant to this conversation. It's called OCR. And for those of you who don't know me, I come from the print world. OCR is optical character recognition, and they also have ICR too. But anyways, OCR, when the scanning is happening, does it recognize what the character is? And you need that. You absolutely need that, because it needs to read what the words are. Because when you're getting screened, your percentage, your match percentage is going to be based on your words, your keywords specifically. And if keywords don't match, you don't get the interview. So again, all this is so that it understands it, so that we can get to that keyword match and we can do a good job, and then we can be up in the top 5% or however many percentage points they're going to interview, because they're not going to interview everybody. That's the whole point. Everybody says, Ira, why don't they change this and make it just more user-friendly? You know why? Because they don't have to. It's expensive. Here's when they'll make a change. When there isn't enough talent coming through the system that they already have in place, then they'll make a change. But until that point happens, there's no need for them to change, because they don't know you, like you, trust you. They don't care about you yet. You're just one of many. You don't have a name and a face yet. You're not human yet. Nobody's going to say it quite like that, but I will, because it's the truth. You're being treated like cattle, right? There's 1,000 people, 2,000 people. So if they have a 33% rejection rate, they still have 700 and some odd people to consider, and they don't even care that those other people, some of the babies got tossed out with the bathwater. Again, they wouldn't be as insensitive about it as I am being. But hopefully that illustration helps drive it home for you that if you want in, you've got to do what they want. Otherwise, why apply? Right? If you don't care what they want, then don't apply. Right? Okay. If you want the job, you got to get the interview. If you want to get the interview, you've got to get through the ATS. If you want to get through the ATS, you'd be smart to listen to people like me who study this stuff. So, we're trying to give you ideas on the best way to get through, which is the whole point of this show. Why I'm doing it at 7:36 on a Monday night when I should be spending time with my kids. All right. Next on in the article. Okay. I see this on LinkedIn all the time. And hello, Ashwin, by the way. Hello. Okay. Yeah. She's pretty much just said all the same ones I just did, but there's a couple of new ones there too for you too. But again, guys, listen to Lisa. This is Lisa Jones. I know it's not showing up on here, but it's Lisa Jones. Listen to Lisa Jones. She is a resume writing professional. Okay. She's smart. She's smarter than me. Here we go. Standard sections. What do I mean by this? What I mean is don't make up your own fancy titles. And I see this on LinkedIn all the time. Job seekers have guru of blah, 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 or wizard of blah, 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 blah. I'm like, ain't nobody finding you as the wizard of finance. You know what I mean? And maybe actually if they use the word finance, they would. So maybe that's a bad example. But wizard of, monetary accounting or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. When you're searching for a job, the sections, the format sections in your resume need to be standard. I'm going to tell you what they are. In fact, that is one of the things that was in this table of contents that I did really like. So I'm going to pull it up. This is resume, Altier's ATS resume. I'm going to put it in. Okay, right there. And again, if you want these links, all of them in one simple thing, just send me a DM and say, can you send me the links from your show tonight? And I'll send you the whole group. Okay. So you don't have to copy and paste this stuff. Lisa said I'm smartest. That's funny. I am smart because I go for the Raiders and she goes for the Bucks. So to the Bucks. All right, here we go. Performing keyword research. Hang on a second. Keyword categories. No. Where is it? Word count. Nope. Metrics. Nope. Identifying. Nope. Nope. Oh, here we go. Formatting. Yeah, formatting best practice. Here we go. These are the sections. I love this. It's so smart. You guys did a good job. Whoever wrote this, you did a good job. Okay. Contact information, executive summary, volunteer. These ones in blue or purple, however you see that on this screen, it looks purple, and on this screen, it looks blue. So I don't know. Whatever your settings are. Okay. Contact information, executive summary, professional experience, company title, year, volunteer, community activity. Like this is what we're talking about. Standardized sections. The ATS will know where to put your stuff if you use these section format, sections, headings, titles. Set it up this way. Whew. Okay. Don't get creative here because you want the ATS to know where to put the ingredients. Again, they're not. Most ATS programs are going to take your information, suck out the ingredients, rebuild it into a universal format, and that's how the recruiter or the hiring person is going to see it to consider you for the job when they look at it. They're not even going to see your original resume. It'll be there as an attachment. They could open it, but this is what they're supposed to do, right? They're supposed to go through and look at them all the same way first. That's what they're supposed to do. Okay. Again, why? The answer to why is not because they hate you. It's because it's designed to remove bias. A lot of them don't show the name on purpose because they don't want to know if you're male or female. They don't want to know if you're, what ethnicity you are. Okay. It's stuff like that. It's actually, again, it's intended for good. It's a noble cause. And it pisses people off because they don't understand it. If they did, they're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. No one's ever told me that. No gender bias, no racial bias. That sounds good, right? Who doesn't want that? You don't like the term ageism? Well, this is supposed to help you. They don't see your age. They don't see your gender. They don't see your race. These are good things. Functionally, could use a little help, right? So we're doing all this to help the function until they fix it. And to be fair, they have fixed it in quite a bit of this in the newest versions. But again, the companies haven't implemented the newest versions because of the cost, and that's the holdup. It isn't the technology drags, it's the price of the product, right? There you go. Okay. So check this thing out. This has some really good information, and I won't talk about all of it. I do want to talk about dates for ageism. I just brought in ageism. If you live in a place like Dubai, you don't have to deal with this, which is awesome for you guys. Thanks to my buddy Soheeb for telling me about that. I did not know that that wasn't an issue in Dubai, but that's good to know. In America, it's illegal as can be, but happens every single day. Ask my buddy Mariella, who's been looking for a job for far too long. She's got way too many skills to be on the open market. And if you're looking for somebody who is, just an amazing person, but also super talented at fraud and risk in the retail environment, checking those setups on your transactions and behind the scenes on your website. She's helped me with Bowman Digital Media and Project Help Grow. This is a lady that I know, love, and would give an outstanding recommendation to referral to anybody who's listening. She's been on the job market for far too long. She was rejected 32 times in 2021. She's got fatigue. And why is she not hired? Because she's no longer 25. She's no longer 45. Sucks, but it's true. People have this thing called a hiring bias in the United States, and they get away with it because they use cheat words and code words like experience and tired and energy and all these things that they swap out for she's too old or he's too old. And it sucks, but it is what it is. You're welcome, Mariella. I shouldn't have to say it because you should be hired. All right. Now, how do you combat that? Well, I wrote a whole article. I wasn't going to bring it up. I'm actually going to pull it up right now. It's called Counterpunching Ageism. And hang on just a second. I'm just getting it here. I'm going to show it to you. I'm sorry. I threw myself a curve. All right. It's called Counterpunch Ageism. One of the main things that I talk about in here, and there's all kinds of stuff. I explain what it is, and I have a video on how to counteract it. But one of the things I talk about with this bias, one of the strategies I talk about, and it does kind of talk about it here, dates. That's not how they're talking about it. That's not what they mean. They're talking about formatting the date. But I'm going to talk about the dates itself. Kirsty Bonner. I love Kirsty Bonner more than I could ever possibly explain in this show. But one of the things that really threw me for a loop, I was in my 40s. I would just turn 40, I think, maybe 41. And she read my resume and she goes, Ira, you're not 25 anymore. I'm like, yeah, I know. So what? She's like, you need to get rid of this stuff out of your resume. I'm like, why would I? It's relevant experience to what I'm doing for a living. And she says, yeah, but it makes you look old. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm not old. She goes, you ain't no spring chicken, buddy. Here's the advice. If the education is more than 15 years old, and it isn't like your main bachelor's degree, your main master's, doctorate, stuff like that. Ooh, I just got to make sure that Mariella sees this because this is awesome. Thank you so much, Lisa. Okay, you guys get together. Here's the deal. For education, 15 years. So here's one of the things. Like, we took high school stuff out of my resume. I had high school in because, sometimes people say you got to have a high school diploma. So I'm like, okay, perfect. Kristen, send me a DM. I'll email you what I call the ageism template that I have. And it was built by Kirsty Bonner. She made it for me, and I just keep using it because it's better than what I could do by myself, right? Okay, so I'm big on giving credit where credit's due. That's why I mentioned Kirsty, because she taught me this stuff. All right. So here's the thing. She said 15 years for education, anything older than that, if it isn't like your last stop, then take it out. Right. So like if you have, for example, a bachelor's degree, here was her point. No longer need. Oh, she fixed her setting. Look at that. We can see who she is. This is so cool. Learning on the fly. Okay, here we go. So if you have a bachelor's degree, the high school diploma is now irrelevant. And seeing 1995, because that's when I graduated high school, was no longer like helping me out. It was making me look older. Okay, good. Ironically, for me, this is just me now, I took 19 years to graduate college. Not because I'm the stupidest person alive, because I took a big break in between, my first trip and my second trip to college, right? I got my bachelor's degree back in 2013. So by having on my resume 2013 as my graduation date for college, made me look younger, helped me get those interviews. Awesome, right? But here's the thing. For work experience, it was 10 years or less. So anything older than 10 years, what we did is we created a new section. We called it previous work experience. And then we had not the dates on there. We had the company name, the title, and the location. And that was it. So that's what we did. See? We have more in common than you think. There you go. Hello, by the way. All right. So to fight ageism, make sure that you have that stuff in place. And if you want a free copy of that resume, I'll make it available to any of you. It's free. It's no charge. DM me. Everybody can send me a message. I know you're thinking we're not connected. That's okay. Everybody in the world can send me a direct message. And even if you couldn't, you could just go to any one of my websites. Project Help You Grow. This is my website. In case you guys aren't familiar with it, here, let me pull up the home page just in case anybody's not familiar. This is me, Project Help You Grow. This is my website. I run it. Okay. If you hit contact me right here, it goes to me. I'm the only one who gets it. Okay. So you can always get a hold of me. I'm easy to get a hold of, right? Hopefully, because that's what I do for a living, right? So if you can't get a hold of me, there's a problem. But send me a message. Say, hey, I'd like to get a copy of that, ageism resume as a template. And you can have it. And then you just pull my stuff out and put your stuff in. And then you can use that as your master resume. Okay? So do that. Anyways, that was a long pause. But ageism sucks. I hate it. So I just wanted to address it while it was on my brain. Let's keep going in the ATS resume here. Okay, graphics. Again, I'm a graphic designer. Just leave them out. Misspelled words. Ooh, this is a big one. And this hurts me too, by the way. I'm probably the world's worst speller. In full disclosure, I have dyslexia, so I think it's spelled right. I know how to spell it. When I read it on the screen, it looks correct. I hit post, and then I get 1,700 messages. Ira, did you know you misspelled that word? Sure do, buddy. Thank you. It's not something you can do in a resume. Why? It's not the fact that you misspelled the word and you have egg on your face, although that sucks. That's not the problem. The issue mainly is for keyword matching. Professionalism is an issue, maybe, right? Especially if you're going for like proofreader or writer or something in that field. Yeah, you need to be really careful, okay? Yeah. Anybody who wants it, just send me a DM or email me and ask. Because I'm not going to go through all these comments. I promise you that. There's hundreds of comments already. I don't know how many comments, but a lot, I'm sure. Okay? So send me a message and I will get back to you. That's one thing that I will not say it and then not do it. If you know me, you know I'm a man of my word. Okay? So if you misspell words, the main problem is the ATS match, keyword match. We're going to get to that. I'll come back to it. Okay? Acronym definitions. Ooh, I see this one a ton. If you have an acronym, now on LinkedIn, I actually have a little bit, free. Oh, she's saying use Grammarly. Yeah, I've got a couple different methods. You know what I do? I actually use Microsoft Word and I use Microsoft Outlook, and it gives me the little red underlines or the blue underlines. So I do pretty good, but I don't always do it. Sometimes I'm in a hurry. and I'll be honest, I mean, just completely transparent. I use my phone's predictive text a ton. I start typing and it starts figuring out what word I want. And then as soon as I see it, I hit it. I love that too. But anyways, it's something about me. So we'll keep moving. But let's talk about this acronym definitions. I want to just hit the pause button on this and talk about this for LinkedIn. This is LinkedIn advice now. If you're using an acronym on LinkedIn, you need to spell out what the word means. Spell it out. Because a lot of us are not in your industry. We don't know what the acronym is. Okay. Now, in this particular case, when you're applying for a job, they really should know what the acronym is. But here's the reason why you want to spell it out anyways. So the advice is the same. We use an acronym, spell it out. Okay. But the reason why we're doing it now is a little bit different. Now we're doing keyword pickups, right? So, like, for example, if you're doing CPA, you would put, certified public accountant, and then put the CPA or the acronym in the apostrophes. You could do it exactly opposite, or parentheses. I'm sorry, not apostrophes, parentheses. Again, you gotta love my dyslexic mind. Anyways, here we go. Why? Keyword pickups. You're gonna get points. You're gonna get points. I promise you. If it's an industry acronym, you're gonna get points for it. So spell it out. Now, here's the part where most people miss, and we talk about this a lot in the keyword stuff, which we're coming up to, but let me just make it plain as I can for you. I just lost my train of thought. Oh my gosh. Oh, keywords with acronyms. Anytime you're using acronyms, go through that job description, what we call the JD. Go through a job description and see how they wrote it in the job description. What do I mean? Well, CPA could be what? It could be CPA, just the letters squished together. It could be C space P space A. So a space between the three. Or it could also be C period P period A period. Right? 3 different ways to do it. Probably the most common is the last one, right? CPA. But here's the deal. It has to be an exact match in the ATS program, or you get no credit. It's full credit or 0 credit. There is no partial credit when it comes to keyword matching. They don't give half points. Okay? You either got recognized or it didn't. So read that job description. Remember I said read it 15 times before you hit that submit button? Here's one of the reasons why. Because you got to have the words that they used. And this is why we say revise the resume. This is 100% what we're talking about. We're not saying refabricate or recreate or, bend the truth of what you did. We're not suggesting that at all. What we're really saying is they have spent time crafting a job description, and they have used certain terminologies. They have used expressions, forms of expressions. In the English language, there's lots of different ways to say the same thing. And in some languages, actually, there's more ways to say the same thing. So with language, words matter. With the ATS, it 100% matters. So here's one that I used to use it all the time because I came from the sales world, right? I was in print sales for 20 years. I sold print, okay? So here's the thing. Some people would call it a sales job. Some people would call it account executive. Some people would call it business development. I don't care what you call it. But the fact is, a sales job is a sales job, right? Right. So if they're asking for an account executive anywhere in your job resume where it says sales, you swap that out for account management or account executive or business development, income revenue generator, whatever they called it. That's what you want to say, because you're going to get a point for every time you say it. Keyword match. We're going to talk about that a lot right now. Keywords. Keywords. Here we go. Incorporates relevant targeted keywords and phrases for the type of position being sought. Okay? It comes straight out of my ATS research. Straight out of it. Go to jobscan.co. In fact, if you go to jobscan.co, if you just go here, we're going to do this. Okay? Opening a new tab. If you come here, try scan for free. What is it that they're scanning? You upload your resume, and then you add the job, and then you view the results. You know what it's doing? It's looking at the words that are on this document, looking at the words on this other document, and then telling you how many of those overlap. That's what it does. That's all it does, frankly. Right? You understand what I'm saying? Keyword match. It's not going to look at synonyms and, words that are close for you. You got to, actually will. It'll give you some suggestions. But anyways, the ATS will not. The ATS is not smart enough. I wish they would do that. In fact, I'm sure that they're working on it, but it doesn't exist today. Okay? So what you need to do, oh, by the way, if you're curious, JobScan has this whole they have this whole thing here. Applicant tracking system softwares, how to beat it. Here we go. This is the start of it. There's more here, and I'll put this up. But tailor your resume and your job description, match your keywords. This is where we're at right here. Okay. Read, let's see, match keywords. Yes. Using long form and acronym. You can see the advice here. Pretty simple, but chronological or hybrid resume. I'm actually not going to talk about that today because I personally don't think it matters because it's going to pull it apart and reassemble it anyways, which I think they missed the point on that, but that's okay. Screen friendly and traditional fonts we have already actually talked about. Don't use header or footers. We haven't talked about that yet, but we will. Standard resume section headings. We did cover this already. And oh my gosh, what? Jobscan.co says save your file as a docs if possible. I wonder why they say that. Crazy. I make all this stuff up. All right. Anyways, if you want that, it's good info. Jobscan really is a wonderful resource. If you guys are not using it, you should. You get 5 scans for free, by the way. But I'll teach you how to do it for free so that you don't need to pay. If you want to pay, you can. I mean, if you pay, it'll be easier for you. But if you don't, you can do it 5 times on their system for free. And then I'll teach you how to do it manually in just a second. Check out what JobScan says here. Again, just ask me for all these links and I will share them with you so you don't have to go and copy them all individually. But this is the article that I was just sharing. So here we go. Now, keywords. I'm going to spend some time on keywords because keywords are super important. Okay. Here's the deal. If they're looking for a welder and you say, something that's like welding but isn't welding, you're not going to get the keyword pickup. You're just not. I don't care if it means exactly the same thing. And I'm not a welder. I don't even know another word to call it. But I'm sure some of you in the comments could be funny and do it. And that's cool, right? You're smarter than me. No problem. But this isn't about smart. This is about picking up points. My son, who's a senior in high school, finally figured this out last year, I think. If you want to get an A in a class, it's about picking up the points. You've got to do everything you can to pick up every point. Keywords is not about your preference. You're not the one shopping here, right? It's like a lot of times when I talk to people about social media and they want more followers, they want, more customers, they want whatever they want, but they're like, yeah, but, and then they tell me all the reasons why they're not going to do what it takes to be successful. For example, polls. Look, if you are on LinkedIn and you don't like polls and you're trying to reach more people and you're not using a poll, you shoot yourself in the foot. It isn't about what you want. It's about what works. It should be, right? I use polls. I think polls are annoying, personally. But I use them all the time. You know why? Because that's what works. So do what works. All right. Use the verbiage in job posting 100%. 100%. Lisa, you're picking up what I'm throwing down. And some hiring managers don't even look at the screen while talking to you. Well, that's just rude. They should. You can't teach people good manners necessarily, but they should be looking at you if they're interviewing you. 100%. You shouldn't be looking at your phone. They shouldn't be looking at their phone, and nobody should be glancing off at a computer screen when they're interviewing you, unless they're reading your resume. And that could be. And I know I actually was guilty of this when I was doing hiring interviews, people in purpose. I typically would be sitting at my desk and I would be taking notes as they spoke. But I would explain to people what I was doing so they knew I wasn't like not paying attention. I was actually paying very much attention. Okay. So let's get into this. Keywords. What is a keyword? Keyword definition. Why is that not letting me highlight? I don't know. Anyways, okay. Keyword definition is this. Keywords are descriptive words that the human resources or internal recruiters have inserted into the ATS for the specific job listings. Boy, that's a mouthful. In other words, they are the words that the employer has identified as the key ingredients for the perfect candidate. Now, how can you know what is the keyword in a job description? Well, this brings up one of Kirsty's favorite tools, Tag Crowd. Okay. Now I'm gonna copy this. If you are reading something and you can't tell what the keywords are, try this. You can do this with anything you want. An article, a job description, it doesn't matter. Watch this. You find the keywords in an article or job description. I'm just putting a note here so people know why I'm sharing this. Okay. So try using Tag Crowd. Okay. Now here's what I'm saying. If we go to this one, actually, let's use this one. Why should your resume revise, right? Why you should revise your resume before each job application. Actually, you know what? No, let's do this. Let's just go straight to jobs. I'm going to show you. This is a job show. We're talking about resumes. Let's just actually do a job. Okay, on Project Help You Grow, if you don't know, have millions of jobs. You can find job listings here. You don't have to sign up for anything. You can just go and use it, okay? So here's a job, lead developer, CY9, put it up. And the job is for anywhere, okay? They've got all this stuff in here, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come and I'm going to highlight it all, okay? Got the whole job, title, everything. I'm going to come over to Tag Crowd. I'm going to drop that in there like that, and I'm going to hit Visualize. And this is the way Tag Crowd works. The larger the word, the darker the font, the more they use that word. So it's a visual representation of how many times a word was used, so you can pick out the keywords. Now, if you're applying for a job, they used ability quite a few times. They used experience a lot. So if your resume doesn't have the word experience anywhere, you need to work that in. Cover letter, work that word in. Development, that's a word that you're definitely going to want to have. Now, what is this job for? Let's go back to the job itself, okay? It's lead developer. So development is actually used more than developer. So if you have developer, 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 you're not getting any keywords for development. That keyword is a zero match. So you need to read the job description very carefully and figure this out. Go to Tech Crowd. You might have noticed I'm not logged in. It's free, 100% free. Use it free, okay? So use that, and then you'll know. AWS is in there. Code is in there. These are some words that I would expect. Team, not necessarily a word I would have expected. The word work is in there multiple times. Skills, the bigger the word, the darker the font, the more it's been used. Okay, so that's just a fast way, and it's showing me the top 50. Okay, so anyways, that's one way to do it. Now, in my article, right here, I talk about this a lot. Knockout questions. I'm going to come back to knockout questions because that's important, but I want to do this. How to manually score your own resume. Okay. Again, you can use jobscan.co free 5 times. And then if you want to use it again, oh yeah, it's a lot. It's Tag Crowd is one of those things. Again, I didn't know about it. Kirsty Bonner introduced me to it. Okay. And she loved it. So she taught me how to use it. And anyways, there you go. So how to manually score your own resume. Now this I actually came up with myself. So kudos to me, I guess. All right. But what I recommend that you do is get a highlight. Okay, so like I'm from the old school. Like we used to look at job listings in the newspaper. And I used to have a pen and a highlighter. Anyways, so that's kind of where I drew from to get this. But go ahead and print up the, I know, old school print. Who prints anymore? I don't even print. But this is the recommendation. You would print up the job description, and you would go read through it just one time, quick read the whole thing. And then as you're reading through it the second time, start to highlight the keywords, the words that you say there's a special emphasis, or these are the words that are from your industry, right? And you should probably have 20 to 30, maybe 40 in a job description. It depends on how lengthy it is, but somewhere in there, 20 to 40. You're going to read it. You're going to highlight it. Okay. And then what are you going to do? You're going to pull out your resume, first pass, just pull out your master resume and read and highlight the words that are there exactly. Now, this is the part where most people make a mistake. It's like, well, they use development and I have developer. No, that's not a match. It's got to be an exact match. If it's exactly the same way, then highlight it. Okay. If it's not, then take that pencil or that pen or whatever and highlight the word that's close. And that's when you open up your computer and change that word using their word. Now, again, this isn't for your master resume. This is for a version that you will use just for that job. And here's what I want you to do, because it's going to help you out later. Because when you go to that job interview, you want to take a copy of the resume that you submitted. So what I want you to do is save that resume. Let's say you were applying for a job at Bowman Digital Media. Okay. Let's say software developer. I'm not hiring because this is hypothetical here. Okay. But let's say I was hiring for software developer, and you're going to apply to 5,000 jobs, right? Because you've been doing it wrong. But the one that you apply for at Bowman Digital Media, what I want you to do is save it as your resume at Bowman Digital Media. Okay. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to print that thing and bring it with you when I interview you, because you made it through the ATS screen and you got to the top of the stack because you were smart, right? I want you to bring that exact resume with you. Okay. It doesn't have to be on resume paper or anything fancy. Just bring it, right? And then you'll have the exact version that you use. So nobody's going to get confused and you won't sound like you're making stuff up or you can't remember what you said on your resume. Okay. So open up a copy of your resume, save it as, software developer at Bowman Digital Media, and then make these revisions. And then when you save it or it auto saves, you're going to be okay. All right. But make these changes as you go. The more thorough you are, then the more likely you're going to be at the top of the heap. How does it all work? When jobscan.co takes the job description in your resume, the more matches, direct matches they are, it's going to give you a percentage. The higher the percentage match, the more likely you're going to get that interview. They have only so many interview slots available. So I'm just going to put this out as blunt as I can, just for sake of time, because we're already over an hour. In fact, we're at 8:08 here in California. Here's the thing. If they get, let's say, 300 applicants a day who apply for the job, let's say it's just one job, and they leave it open just for 3 days, they've got 900 people. How many interviews do you think they're going to do for one job? 20, 30, 50, 100? Let's say for simple math sakes, they were going to do 30, 10%. If you don't get to the top 10%, then all the rest of this is a waste of time. You're just going to get that automated, I'm sorry. And it has nothing to do with your qualifications. It's just that you didn't keyword match or you didn't format correctly. Because a lot of those people would have made it, but they didn't format it right. They either sent it as a PDF and they didn't accept PDF, or they had some of the formatting issues incorrect. Like they had, huge underlines and hypertext and different colors and small fonts. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. They got an auto rejection. Okay. This is what I'm talking about here. Read this article. I spent a lot of time writing it. There's a lot there, but you don't need me to read it word for word. So go ahead and read that article. That article, in case you guys are watching, if you're joining late and you're not sure what I'm talking about, the name of the article is ATS Screening Strategy, How to Earn an Interview. It's back when I had hair. I lost all my hair when I wrote this thing. Gosh darn it. All right. Here we go. Still have the white glasses, though. Different set, but white nonetheless. Okay. Here we go. So if you want to be interviewed for the job and give yourself a shot at getting hired, you would be wise to read this article. It's called ATS Screening Strategy, How to Earn the Interview. It has everything that we've talked about and more. Here's the next thing I want to talk about real quick, knockout questions. A lot of people don't understand what knockout questions are. Knockout questions actually the very first thing that's applied to your resume by the ATS, because if you do not answer these correctly, the rest of it is, again, irrelevant. Here's probably the most common knockout question at the moment, which is this. Are you legally able to work in the fill in the blanks, the United States, wherever you are, right? If you're not legally able to work, I don't care. I'll give you an example. One of my clients, East Point, they're looking for prosthetic, orthotic professionals. There's a word and I can't think of it at the moment, but that's okay. Doesn't matter. They're like, they build the prosthetics and the stuff, that the braces and the things, the orthotics. Okay. We put up the job description, I want to say like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, something like that. We got a bunch of responses, but a lot of the responses, and no offense, they were from, like West Africa and, Dubai and, Australia even. And it was like, hey, we are skilled at this. We've got our education in it. We've got experience in it. Do you guys, do you sponsor? Are you sponsoring? No. Sorry. But if you get here legally and you can work here legally, you're free to apply. Right? And that's pretty common. And so, again, if that's your situation, you're looking to get a sponsored role, pay attention to my post this week. Follow me this week. You can drop me later if you want, but follow me this week because I'm going to do another one of these that's catered just to that, because I have strategies that actually can help you with that. And I'll be happy to share them. I just don't have the time to give it the serious merit that requires. So we're just going to skip that topic for now. But that would be an example of a knockout question. Another one, I have a position open for spotting driver. And I know many of you are probably like, spotting driver, what the heck is that? I know. It's a commercial driver position at a warehouse. They don't drive the trucks, down the highway. They just basically move them from one side of the parking lot into a dock, or from the dock to a parking space, the trailers specifically. And there's a special truck even for it called a spotter. Anyways, spotting trucks or spotting drivers you have to have your CDL, your commercial driver's license. So the people that are applying, one of the knockout questions right out the gate is, do you have a commercial driver's license? And if you say no, the rest is irrelevant. You understand what I'm saying? So there's a couple examples. Dalmatian. Oh, people are making me laugh. All right, here we go. So knockout questions, that's what they are. They are important. Again, don't be intimidated by the word knockout. I mean, you can't usually knockout questions are not ambiguous, and they shouldn't really be a surprise to you in that industry, right? Like, if they are hiring a doctor and you don't have a medical license, you're probably not going to get that job. You know what I'm saying? You got to go to school first. There you go. Okay, so let's see what else. I think we pretty much hit that one really well. This is on ageism. I'm just gonna. Oh, I'll pull that back up. I need to not have that down because I need to remember to include the link. I was gonna start closing stuff down, but then I remembered I promised you guys all these links, so I just need to pull it back up so I don't forget. All right. Keywords we talked about. Oh, I need to make this case. I do need to make this case before we wrap this up. Okay, so why should you revise your resume before each job application is submitted? Here's why. I've got Lisa Jones on the line here. She's a resume writer professionally. That's how she makes her living. And if she was on here, and she already has, she's going to tell you to revise your resume every single time. In fact, I think she said it in all caps, if I remember right. Isn't that true, Lisa? I think it is. Here's why. You need to revise your resume before each job application because of those keywords that I was just talking about. Okay? Let me give you a perfect example. If you are of a slacker mentality and you just want to get by, a one-size-fits-all resume will do just that. It'll help you just get by. You're never going to get the interview. Well, I shouldn't say never, but you're very rarely going to get the interview. I should say that because, there are cases where you would. But for the most part, especially the more competitive the situation, the more important it is that you would revise your resume for each and every time, because you need to keyword match at a high enough rate that you're above the cutoff line. And you don't know what the cutoff line is. You also don't know how many people are going to apply. You could have a 99% keyword match and still not get the interview. That would be extremely rare and unlikely. Probably not even true. At 99%, I would imagine you probably would always get the interview. But anyways, you don't know, right? So let's say there's 9,586 applicants for a job. And you come in at 97% keyword match. How many people are they going to interview? Are they going to interview 1,000 people? I don't know anybody who interviews 1,000 people. I don't even care if they're hiring for 10 positions. Right? The same position times 10. They're still probably not going to interview 1,000 people. You see what I'm saying? So if you're getting by, you've got that, Lisa Jones written resume, and it's formatted great. Everything I said she's done, and I know she would. Okay? You still aren't going to keyword match, and you're still not going to get the interview. Now, it will get through the initial screen, right? It's going to get through the formatting thing, yes. You're going to send it in the proper format. It's going to get read, understood, and assembled. That's the first part of the ATS screening process. Yes, your professional written resume will do that every single time. Okay? But here's the problem. That's not the only thing. You also got to keyword match enough to get into the interview slot. Again, how many are there? And I'm going to tell you this. They probably don't even know at the beginning. They probably don't even set that number. Like, oh, you know what? We're only going to interview 20 people, or we're going to interview 30 people, unless they have like a standard, what I would call a SOP, standardized operating procedure. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. They could have that, so they could know. But like when I was hiring at any one of the jobs, and I was putting out these job descriptions and asking, the person at HR to get me resumes to consider, a lot of times, I had no idea if we're going to get 10 people or 1,000 people. I've had to turn off more job descriptions after 24 hours than I care to admit, because there's just too many coming in. It's like, okay, I've got enough. Don't need any more. I'll find a champion in this stack. Okay. But I didn't use the ATS ever as a hiring manager. I never did. Okay. Again, I didn't know what it was until 2018, 2019. So here's the thing. They may not know what the cut line is because they're probably not thinking that they're going to get a certain number. Like, oh, we know we're going to get 1,000 applications or whatever. You just don't know. You know what I mean? So when you are setting up your resume, your CV, and you want to make sure that you get the interview, you earn the interview. And that's the way I like to express this now. It's earning the interview. If you want to make sure that you earn it, I said it and I meant it, and I'm not kidding. Read the job description 15 times. Now, what I haven't said yet till right now is you also need to read your resume that you're going to submit. because it's the first time you've ever going to submit this one, and it should be the only time you're ever going to submit this one. You need to read it multiple times too. Why? Because you need to make sure every word that you've changed, now it flows properly. Read it out loud. Don't just read it in your mind. Read it out loud. This really helps me with dyslexia. Okay? Read it out loud. Make sure it makes sense. Because, pardon the expression, I know it can be insensitive to some people, and I don't mean this to be insensitive at all, but skeet shoot versus sniper fire. Skeet shoot is great when you're out there on the range and you're shooting at clay pigeons. It's a lot of fun. If you've never done it, go skeet shooting. You'll enjoy it. Okay? But the fact is, sniper fire is what's required. Precision is what's required. Precision. So when someone tells me I applied for 500 jobs this week, the first thing out of my mouth is, so you didn't want a job? And I'm being facetious, but I'm being dead serious at the same time. I'm a little bit of a smart aleck if you haven't picked up on that. It gets me in trouble sometimes. But if you are mass applying, you're just rushing to get rejected. You cannot do that successfully. That's not the job market. So what you do is you read that job description a bunch of times. I said 15 times. Do it 15 times. Read that resume, that revised resume out loud. Read it 5 times. Make sure everything is there. You've got a printed copy of the job description and your new revised written resume, and you've marked it up, and you can count. Look, there's the keyword, there's the keyword, there's the keyword. There it is, there it is, there it is. Right? Cross-referenced matched. If you have 50 keywords and you've got 50 of them on your resume, you're giving yourself a great, great shot to earn that interview. Now, another caveat, and I talked about this at the beginning, but for those who joined late, make sure I'm saying it again before we wrap this thing up, which I'm about to wrap it up. Now is not the time to be applying for stretch jobs. To borrow an expression, stretch jobs. What's a stretch job? Definition of a stretch job, again, is this. A stretch job is a job where you are not really qualified for it. It's something that you could probably do if given the chance, but you've never done it before. How do you get those jobs? Right now, you get those jobs internally. You get promoted. You're an assistant manager. You want to be a department manager. Get promoted internally. But to apply externally, like a lot of people were doing all through, the 2000s and 2010 era, right? When there was more jobs than job seekers and the competition was lower, they would basically, it was like getting drafted. You're like, okay, you work for my competitor as this, but I'm going to hire you as that. And now you're a step ahead, right? Advancing your career by switching companies. Now it's the opposite. You want to advance your career, you stay put. Okay? So here's the thing. If you're applying for jobs you're qualified for and you do everything that we've talked about in this show, and you can watch the show at any time, by the way. You don't have to just watch it live. You can rewind and watch it later, right? If you do all that, let me review what I've talked about for those of you who are late to the show, or if you're a little lost. The very first thing I talked about is the file format. I talked about using Word doc as the default, unless you read the job description. When you read it 15 times and you said all 15 times, it says send me a PDF. Go ahead and send that PDF. Don't be obtuse. Send them what they ask for. Okay? They know what their system can handle. And you want to show that you can follow instructions. So do that. But if they don't specify and you don't ask, then just assume Word doc for now. Okay? Make sure you're using a sans serif font, and I call out 6 of them that you can use safely. Make sure you're using size 10 or larger. I recommend 11. Make sure everything in your resume is black. No blue, no grays, no greens. I don't care how your affinity is to pink or purple or orange or whatever. I don't care. It's not about you. It's about communicating in a way that they understand. Make sure it's black. Size 11 or higher. Sans serif font, one of 6 that I called out in the interview or in the article that I'm going to share the links for. Okay? Formatting. Now, by formatting, I'm talking about headings. Make sure you're using the 6 that are in this resume Altiers Yeah, Resume Altier's website. Again, the link will be with the show description. Send me a direct message if you want, and I will send you all of them combined in one nice little package. Okay. So formatting sections, standardized. Okay. No columns, no fancy graphics, no photographs. Now, again, this is regional. So if you're in an area where the picture is part of the standard CV, and there are places in the world where that's true, then make sure you're following the guidelines of your local practice. Okay. But again, and this will be in my show about getting a job abroad, you need to follow the practice of the local practice where you're trying to get hired. So if you're in, India and you're using a picture and then you want to apply for a job in the United States where we don't, take that picture out, change that CV over to a resume, use the local standards. And if you don't know what the local standards are, get yourself a friend in that industry and ask for some help. I call them informational interviews. They can save you a huge time. Oh, it's my pleasure. That is what I'm here for. Okay, so what else did I talk about? I talked about, ageism. If you're, a little bit more experienced than the rest of the group, then what I want you to do is take out any education that is more than 15 years old, as long as it isn't your final stop. And if it is your final stop, leave it in, but take the dates out. And anything that's more than 10 years in work experience, drag that out too. And I do have a free template that you can email or DM me and ask me for, and I will send it to you. It's my resume from a couple years ago, but I've just basically kind of dumbed it down a little bit, and it's a template that you can use. You can take all my stuff out and put all your stuff in, and then you have an ageism. I hate to say ageism proof, but it give you a better shot at earning that interview, anyways. All right, and we talked about keywords. What are the keywords? The keywords are, once you have all the formatting down, the keywords are the words that they're looking for, and it's not them, it's a robot, artificial intelligence, and it needs to match and it needs to be exact, and that's why you have to revise every single one of your applications before you hit that submit button, because if you don't, you will not, in most cases, get asked to interview, and you'll feel like the hiring process is broken when it's not broken. It's just that your strategy is not good. And that is why I've spent the last hour and 28 minutes talking to you, hoping to help you a little bit with that. My name is Ira Bowman, and I am worn out. I appreciate you guys for sticking with me and how active all the comments was. Yeah, and Lisa said it, and I said it earlier, take the high school stuff out. 100% true. Yeah, so tables, don't use them. Just don't use them, because again, some ATSs do accept and understand tables, but a lot don't. Now, if they call for it in the job description, again, they know what their ATS system can do. Always take the advice of the recruiter who's controlling the job, or the job description specifically, of course. That will supersede anything what I'm saying here. What I'm talking about is this. What I'm talking about is, when you don't know, if you follow everything that I've just taught you and everything that's in the articles more specifically, because I'm hoping that you'll actually take the time to read them now that I've kind of given you an overview. If you do all that, you give yourself a better than a puncher's chance of landing that interview. And then I have an article on Project Help You Grow called Win the Interview. I'll teach you how to prep for an interview like nobody, like I'm your drill sergeant. I will teach you, and you'll hate me, but you'll get the job, and then you can send me a check. I'm just kidding. No one's ever had to pay for Project Help Grow, and no one ever will. It's free. I do it for free, okay? But I'll teach you if you want. Once you get the interview, you really should read my article, Winning the Interview, because it's hard to get the interview. I just went over it for 90 minutes. It's really hard. Can I look at your CV? I could, but see, that actually tells me you weren't paying attention. Your CV is not the main thing. The main thing is the job description. I can't judge a CV without, or a resume, frankly. Not really, because I can't keyword match it for you. I can tell you if it's formatted right, but you need to revise it before you submit for a job, right? Watch the show, rewind it, watch it again. You can watch this video 17,000 times if you want. Probably don't need to watch it that many times. but twice is probably good for most of you. Okay. Again, if you know all this stuff already, great. Then you're just nodding your head with me. And again, some of the stuff I said is my own personal opinions that I've, infused over time. But I can promise you this: I probably talk to more recruiters than any of you in the audience. I talk to recruiters every single day, and I've been talking to them for years. Why? Because I help recruiters find candidates for free. They love me. Some of them. You know what I mean? Job seekers love me too. Why? Because I help introduce them to recruiters and employers. This whole Project Help You Grow thing, if you're not familiar with Project Help You Grow, you should check it out. It's a free service. It's a website. It's a group. It's a page on LinkedIn. It's all that stuff. But the whole point of it is to get you, the job seeker, to connect with the recruiter and employer in a way that's successful for both of you, right? Somebody asked me the other day, how many people have been hired because of Project Help You Grow, and how many jobs? I have no idea. I've never kept track of that. I will never even attempt a guess at it. I can tell you this: I've had hundreds of thousands of people visit the website, and hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, visit it every single day. It's a free resource, though, right? I'm not tracking you. There's no cookies on it. Well, I think technically there are, but I don't look at any of that data. I don't even know where it goes, honestly, between you and me. Don't tell anybody I'm stupid, but I don't know where the cookie stuff goes. I have no idea. I want you guys to find a job. I want you to be successful. I don't want you to be frustrated. I don't want it to take 7 months or 12 months or 2 years. I don't want you to struggle with the ATS. You don't have to. It's not a mystical thing. When I first heard about the ATS, nobody could describe it. That's why I deep dived it. I was like, somebody out there has to know what this thing is. Everybody hated it. Like every single thing I ever saw, if you go back to LinkedIn 2018, the ATS was like a cuss word. It really was. And everybody was pissed off about it. I'm like, what is this thing? Everybody's mad. Why are we mad, bro? So I studied it. And I said, you know what? It's not evil. It's not inherently evil. It's maybe could be improved. Yeah. And it has been. I mean, to be fair, again, if people were using the most up-to-date versions of the ATS systems that are out there, a lot of this stuff would no longer be a viable issue. Problem is, again, because it's not free software, it's not freeware, a lot of companies, they're struggling to keep their doors open. I lost my job in 2020 just like a lot of you did. So companies aren't upgrading their software. So they're using stuff that's old. Okay. And again, I don't care how much you trust me. I don't care how much you believe in me and how much work I did. And if you know me, you know that I did. I don't just say things haphazardly. If the job description says use a table or send a PDF or whatever it says, take them at their word and do that because you want to show them that you're paying attention. You're a professional. Okay? I'm saying, in the absence of instructions, follow my advice because it is the most likely to keep you safe and get you in consideration, which is what you want to do. You want to increase your odds of getting the interview because the resume is not going to get you hired. The resume is going to earn the interview. What you do in that interview is going to determine if you get hired or not. And more aptly, what everybody does in the interview, you've got to be the most prepared so that you crush it. Because you got to hit a grand slam. You can have a good interview and not get hired. It happens all the time. As a hiring manager, as a former hiring manager, well, I still hire people as the business owner. But anyways, I had lots of times people that I really would love to hire this person, but this other person was amazing and I got to hire them, right? Now, I've had some of those amazing people I didn't get to hire too, though, because their budget wasn't realistic. They were asking for a number that was just not viable. So part of preparing for the interview, which I would love to do a show on that. I have not got that on my purview to do that before the end of 2021, but I might do it early in 2022. How do you figure out what to ask for in your interview? You need to be prepared. Don't go in haphazard, not knowing what. Well, I'll take whatever you give me. No. No, there's a strategy on how to figure out what the right number is to ask for. I have it in my article if you really want to see it right now. Go to winning the interview. Go to the Project Help Your Girl blog, and then you've got to go to older because it's like 18 months old that I wrote this thing. But anyways, it's got this like neon green, ugly, ugly cover. I don't know. I was going through a phase, whatever. It's called Winning the Interview. Okay, read that because I give you 10 steps on how to prepare for the interview, and that's one of them because it's important. If you do really well with everything else, you're going to have to answer that question. If you don't, you might not get asked. But if you don't get asked, how much money do you need to make? Then you didn't do as good in the interview as you think, right? If you don't get that, ask that question. But if you do get asked that question, you need to be prepared. Anyways, I'm going on and on and on. I'm out of this place. Thank you so much, everybody. I love you too, Lisa Jones and Mariella, and you guys definitely need to talk. I'll see y'all next time. If you're not following me yet and you're trying to find a job, follow me. I promise you this week you don't want to miss it. I've got more good stuff coming. See y'all later. BowmanDigitalMedia.com.